Cheers, everybody. It's Eric. I'm back. I want to talk about my Brew Day myths, specifically homebrewers' Brew Day myths. And one of them that's near and dear to my heart is 60-minute boil. Any of you out there that do the New England IPAs, the only reason you want to boil for 60 minutes is when you're doing hop additions for bittering. And I'm going to get in a little bit of bittering too as far as hop additions, but 60-minute boil. I've done 30-minute boils on New England IPA because I'm adding my hops towards the end or at the very end, at least while I'm whirlpooling and chilling my wort at 175 degrees and down. Absolutely no issues with the beer. I've done this recipe repeatedly over and over, and this was an experiment that I did months ago, and I had no issues with it. And anytime I do a New England IPA, I do a 30-minute boil now. Now I have to adjust for my extraction of my wort on my mash, but that's okay. I can get away with a 30-minute boil rather than a 60. So I saved some time there. I'm always wanting to save time. Number 2 Brew Day myth: hop utilization for bitterness during your boil. There's no reason to add hops. If you're only adding hops for bittering during your boil, you're going to add hops towards the end for the hop aroma and flavor, the last 10-15 minutes. But if you want to bitter, there's no reason to add hop additions at 60 minutes, 45 minutes. You don't have to do it. Do one addition of your hops for your bittering at the very beginning, whatever that might be, to get the bitterness that you want to achieve. Now, some recipes might require that you step the hops all the way through, like Dogfish Head. They're famous for that. They add hop additions, I want to say it's every 5-10 minutes throughout the boil. And they have 60, 90, 120 minute boils. So yeah, they've got some very bitter beers out there, and I can understand that. But say if you have a beer that you want to bitter around 50 IBUs, a good IPA, you can add one hop addition, whatever it might be, 2 ounces or whatever, at the very beginning to get the bitterness that you want to achieve, and add your hops towards the tail end for your aroma and flavor. And of course your whirlpooling or dry hopping. But that's number 2. Number 3, secondary fermentation. I don't believe in it. I don't do it. If you're going to be brewing on a massive scale with a whole bunch of weight, hundreds of gallons in a fermenter, all that weight is going to be sitting on your yeast cake. And I can understand or see where you're going to extract or get some of that bready tones and flavor from your yeast. But for the most part, I do not do secondary fermentation. Primary only, and we're not talking about months at a time here. I do ales largely, mostly, and 30 days, 30, 40 days, maybe max. That's it. So it's in that primary fermenter the whole time, and you have less of a chance of getting an infected beer. That's why I do not believe in secondary fermentation. Another one that I believe: dry hopping after fermentation is complete. I dry hop at high Krausen on all my IPAs, New England IPAs. You have that movement within that beer that's moving around. And when you add them hops, you're actually adding a little bit of oxygen from the pouring, actually pouring the hops into your fermenter. But that's okay. Your yeast is going to consume that. If you add your hops after fermentation is complete, you don't have a whole lot of movement in that beer. So I don't feel like you get a lot of extraction or utilization from your hops if it's standing stagnant, basically. So I like to add it at high Krausen when it's most active and rolling around, and it gets some hops stirring up and happy and swimming around with the yeast and all that. It's great activity, great time to do it. That's how I do my dry hopping. Another one for the boil in a bag, folks. Before I did all grain and my fly sparge setup here, I was boiling a bag. You can, if you squeeze the bag after your mash is complete and get as much wort as you can out of your bag. You can extract tannins from the grains. Never had that issue, ever. In fact, I would squeeze the bag as much as I could with some high temp gloves. And I would actually rinse the grains too on top of it, because I wanted as much wort as I could out of it. And it worked for me. So that was how I did it. So these are only my opinions and how I believe and what I do on my brew days, and never had any issues with it. So that's why I wanted to share these few brew day myths with you all. So any brew day myths that you might have, drop them down below. Let me know about them, what you think. And in my brew day myths, what do you think? Do you believe them? Do you not? I mean, how do you fall in that category? I know I've never had any issues with it, but that's just me. So again, you know, this is just my take on my brew day myths, and there's some more out there. If you have any more ideas or suggestions or topics that you think I should cover, let me know. And of course, please, if you can, follow, subscribe, give me thumbs up, all that good stuff. And this is Eric. Thanks for watching, and cheers.